Elizabeth Taylor was far more than a screen legend. She was an international phenomenon. A whirlwind of glamour, talent, and unapologetic extravagance, she captivated the world not just with her acting, but with a life that often felt more cinematic than her film. Yet beneath the glittering surface, the gold statues, glittering jewels, and whirlwind love affairs, Elizabeth had another far more personal role, that of a mother. She had 4 children, each of whom grew up in the long, complicated shadow of one of the most famous women in the world. So what was it really like to be raised by Elizabeth Taylor? What paths did her children take, and where are they now? Let's begin with her youngest son from her second marriage, Michael Wilding Jr. Born on January 6, 1953 in the sun-drenched city of Santa Monica, California, Michael Jr. was the product of Elizabeth's union with English actor Michael Wilding Sr., a man 2 decades older than her. Their marriage, which lasted from 1952 to 1957, offered a brief moment of calm amid Elizabeth's often stormy personal life. Following in the footsteps of both parents, Michael Jr. gravitated toward the world of acting. In the 1980s, he appeared in television dramas like Dallas, where he portrayed Alex Barton, and the daytime soap Guiding Light as Jackson Fremont. He even made a film appearance in Deadly Illusion. Audiences couldn't help but notice a familiar sparkle in his eyes, an echo of his mother's legendary violet gaze. Still, despite these roles, his career in the spotlight never reached the meteoric heights of his parent. His time in the industry was brief, and eventually he stepped out of the Hollywood frame that had defined so much of his early identity. But Michael Wilding Jr.'s true path led him far from Hollywood's bright light. After a period of acting, he stepped away from the stage and screen to embrace a deeper, more personal form of expression, sculpture. In 1991, he settled in Santa Fe, New Mexico, a haven for artists drawn to its striking landscapes and rich creative energy. It was here, in the solitude of the desert, that Michael discovered a new calling, stone sculpting. He described his creative process as a kind of dialogue with the material, removing excess until the form revealed itself. His works, crafted from materials like civic marble, limestone, and bronze, speak in abstract form, each one a quiet rebellion against the noisy fame of his youth. The art world took notice. He's represented by several respected galleries, including the Wilding Cran Gallery in Los Angeles, a space co-founded by his daughter, Naomi Wilding. Through her, a new generation of the Taylor-Wilding lineage carries the creative torch forward. Sculpting gave Michael something acting never quite did, a space where he could shape his own identity on his own terms. In his personal life, he experienced love and loss, starting with his first marriage to Beth Clutter in 1970, which ended in divorce. He later found enduring love with actress Brooke Pallant, daughter of screen legend Jack Pallant. They married in 1982. Between these relationships, he also had a daughter with Johanna like Dawn. Michael Jr. is the father of 3 children: Layla Wilding, born to Beth Clutter; Naomi Wilding, daughter of Johanna like Dawn; and Tarquin Wilding, whose mother is Brooke Pallant. Despite the complexities of his family life, one thing remained constant: his children shared a close bond with their iconic grandmother. Elizabeth Taylor, though often seen as a glamorous titan of cinema, was also a doting grandmother behind closed doors. That closeness between mother and son was undeniable, especially evident when Michael Jr. walked his mother down the aisle at her 8th and final wedding in 1991 to Larry Fortensky. In that quiet, emotional moment, the world saw not a movie star and her child, but a mother and a son, bound by something deeper than fame. When Elizabeth Taylor passed away in 2011, her eldest son, Michael Wilding Jr., offered a heartfelt tribute to the woman the world knew as a legend, and he knew as Mom. "My mother was an extraordinary woman who lived life to the fullest," he said in a statement. "We will always be inspired by her enduring contribution to our world." His words captured not just her brilliance as an actress, but her unwavering commitment to making a difference far beyond the silver screen. He spoke with reverence about her accomplishment, not only the iconic films and business ventures that defined her career, but especially her fearless advocacy in the battle against HIV/AIDS. Elizabeth was among the first public figures to speak openly, loudly, and persistently on behalf of those suffering during a time when silence and stigma reigned. Her work through the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation became a cornerstone of her legacy, and that legacy hasn't faded. It lives on through the next generation. Michael Jr.'s 3 children, Layla, Naomi, and Tarquin, have all embraced their grandmother's mission with purpose and passion. Naomi Wilding, in particular, serves as an ambassador for ETF, advocating for continued awareness and support. Tarquin has also stepped forward, publicly honoring the values and vision his grandmother stood for. He's spoken on behalf of all the grandchildren, sharing how deeply they feel the responsibility to carry on the generosity and compassion that defined her later years. Michael Jr., ever more private than his mother, may not be in the spotlight alongside his children, but there's little doubt his influence and support run deep, even if from behind the scenes. While his children continue Elizabeth Taylor's activism in the public eye, his quiet strength echoes through their work, proof that even away from the cameras, his connection to his mother's mission remains unshaken. Christopher Wilding, born February 27, 1955 in Los Angeles, a city that thrived on fame, spectacle, and illusion. From the moment of his birth, he was surrounded by legends. His mother, Elizabeth Taylor, was already a global phenomenon, and his father, Michael Wilding Sr., was a respected British actor. But Christopher's early years were marked by change. By the time he was 2, his parents had divorced, and his childhood unfolded under the complicated weight of his mother's relentless stardom. Like his older brother Michael, Christopher spent a significant portion of his upbringing in Europe. Elizabeth had hoped that distance might offer her children something close to normalcy, but even an ocean away, the chaos of her fame followed. Christopher once spoke of how photographers constantly lingered outside their home, eager to capture fragments of a life the world couldn't stop watching. He described flipping through tabloids at boarding school just to learn what was happening in his own family, much like a stranger reading gossip about a celebrity. Those years were painful, not just because of the intrusion, but also because of how his classmates would mock and harass him over his mother's highly publicized love life. Despite being born into Hollywood royalty, Christopher took a different path, one that led him behind the camera instead of in front of it. He immersed himself in the technical side of filmmaking, working as a sound editor and assistant director. His career included work on notable films like Overboard, 1987, Tombstone, 1993, and The Shadow, 1994, where he also had a small acting role. He was also credited on Judgment Night, 1993. For Christopher, filmmaking wasn't about chasing the spotlight. It was about mastering a craft, about contributing something of substance to the art form, on his own terms, outside of the long shadow cast by his mother's fame. Christopher Wilding's creative spirit extended beyond film. Though not as widely publicized, he has also been recognized as a photographer, another quiet form of expression that allowed him to see the world from behind the lens rather than be the subject of its gaze. Today, he's believed to be retired, having chosen a life well outside the spotlight that once dominated his family's existence. In contrast to the glare of his mother's fame, Christopher has lived with quiet intentionality. His personal life has remained largely out of public view. He married Aileen Getty, heiress to the Getty oil fortune, on August 26, 1981. Together, they welcomed 2 sons, Caleb, adopted in 1983, and Andrew, born in 1984. Their marriage ended in the late 1980s. Later, he found love again with Margaret "Margie" Carlton, a respected figure in the film industry for her work in sound editing. They have a son, Lowell Wilding, born in 1992. As of 2016, Christopher and Margie were reported to be living in Calabasas, California, far from the chaos his mother once endured. For decades, Christopher said little publicly about Elizabeth Taylor, but in recent years he's begun to reflect more openly on their relationship and her legacy. In a rare interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he acknowledged how his mother's breathtaking beauty often overshadowed her talent, saying, "She was so beautiful. Some people tended to overlook her great acting chops." He added that she would likely be most proud today of her humanitarian work rather than her film roles. Christopher didn't shy away from addressing the emotional toll of growing up in the glare of celebrity. In the BBC docuseries Elizabeth Taylor, Rebel Superstar, he revisited the turbulent media storm that surrounded Taylor's romance with Richard Burton. He called it a drag, not just because of the public spectacle, but because of the ridicule he faced from his peers at boarding school. In a particularly tender moment, he revealed that his mother had once expressed regret about not being a better parent. But Christopher, with compassion born from years of perspective, responded simply, "I felt like she was a good mother. It wasn't easy to do." This interview, his first televised appearance speaking about his mother after decades of silence, carried a quiet gravity. In it, he offered perhaps the most powerful assessment of all, his view that fame is a deal with the devil that's really not worth it. Those words carry weight, shaped not by bitterness, but by a lifetime lived in the margins of brilliance and burden. Christopher's voice, gentle, honest, and steady, is not just that of Elizabeth Taylor's son, it is the voice of someone who has seen fame from the inside and walked away with his own story to tell. Though Christopher Wilding has long preferred a life outside the limelight, he plays a crucial role in guarding the legacy of the woman who defined his early world. As a trustee of the Elizabeth Taylor Southern Trust, Christopher helps oversee and protect his mother's vast and valuable valuable estate. This role is far more than ceremonial, it has real stakes. In fact, Christopher and fellow trustees once took legal action against Christie's auction house over Elizabeth's legendary personal collection, a move to ensure her wishes and legacy were honored. Proceeds from that auction had been promised in part to the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, ETF, linking Christopher's formal duties as trustee with the cause that meant so much to his mother. In this way, even in privacy, he remains one of the steadiest guardians of her mission and memory. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the second part about Elizabeth's daughters.